Puff pastry does all the work in this caramelized onion, fig, and blue cheese tart. Slowly caramelized onions become extremely sweet, and they are perfect on top of a puff pastry that is first spread with a mustard and fig jam sauce. And then on top of those, you get some delicious chunks of sweet figs because they are dried and have so much flavor. Layer on some caramelized onions, and I'm gonna show you how easy they really can be. To finish it, you take blue cheese and crumble it all over the top. Once baked, that puff pastry really expands in the oven. All those flavors marry together so you get the tartness of the cheese, and it really goes well with the sweetness of the jam and the onions. It's all things Christmas, and it's all coming up on today's Wise Guide. When I'm planning any party, I like to think of a lot of different options, but something that is always great to have is puff pastry. I keep it in the freezer, and when you pull it out, you can make almost anything with it. Sweet, savory, it doesn't matter. And sometimes, yes, I have made my own puff pastry, but you know what? If you're making it into a quick bite for a party, it is just as good to use the bought stuff, because if you've made it, you know it takes forever. I love to plan ahead for my Christmas party, and this tart is the perfect thing to have on the menu. This tart utilizes caramelized onions, and I know everyone has a different take on how you caramelize onions, but it really isn't that hard. It just takes some patience. Once baked, this pastry puffs up and you can tell each layer. On top is a spread that really balances out with the sweetness, and those caramelized onions and the blue cheese, they all marry together in perfect harmony. This is the perfect bite to pick up and enjoy with a party. To start, you just want to caramelize your onions. I know some people have all these tricks for caramelizing onions. They add some sugar, or they do something else to try to get them to go quicker or really come down quickly. There is no secret to caramelized onions. It just takes some patience. First, melt some butter in a large skillet. Yeah, you want to use butter because it has great flavor. As your butter's melting, you can just slice up your onions. It's going to take quite a few onions because they really come down in volume once they are cooked. When they're all sliced and your butter's melted, just add them to that butter. You should hear just a slight sizzle, but you don't want them to cook really hard because then they're just gonna brown and almost burn. You want to be really gentle. So for a long time, you're just gonna be sitting there and stirring them. You do not wanna add salt at this point because that's gonna draw out more moisture. You don't wanna do that. We're gonna season afterwards. Just let them cook, let them hang out, slowly let them cook down. Eventually, they're gonna turn a little bit of color, just a slight amber color. Keep cooking and stirring. Once they are fully cooked down, all that butter is pretty much gone. You're getting a brown color on the bottom of the pan and a nice deep brown color on your onions. That means they're gonna be caramelized. You can even taste them at this point because they're gonna have a great sweet flavor. Add in some balsamic vinegar. It's gonna sputter quite a bit because it's a hot pan. Stir it around, let it cook into them. It's really gonna balance out those flavors. Then just finish by seasoning them with some salt and pepper. Just stir that together to make sure it's all incorporated and all those flavors are married. Take them from the heat, put them into a bowl so they can cool slightly. While those are cooling, you can just get ready your puff pastry. This is why I love to use puff. I put it in the fridge overnight, that way it thawed at that fridge temperature. Pull it out, put some flour on your board just so it doesn't stick, and then roll it out slightly. It is all ready to go. It is such an easy thing to have for a party. The thickness really isn't important here. You're more just getting those creases out of the puff pastry and making it even. Once it's rolled out, you can just put it right on top of a parchment-lined baking pan. Then I like to score the edge just so it gets a little bit of a crust with a knife. This is gonna ensure that that crust really puffs up because there's gonna be a cut line behind it, and that the inside where all the filling is gonna stay down. Don't go all the way through the puff, but just about like halfway through with your knife. Yes, you need a sharp knife. Once that's ready to go, you can just get ready your sauce. It's extremely easy. A little bit of Dijon mustard and some prepared fig jam. This jam is gonna really balance everything out. Just stir that together until it's fully incorporated. And then brush it over that prepared crust, leaving that little bit of edge that you just cut. I don't like to brush it all the way to the edge because that little bit of exposed edge would just burn with that jam right on top. Once that's evenly on there, you can just put on some chopped figs. I like to use dried mission figs. They have great flavor, delicious sweetness. Just chop them up into smaller pieces, sprinkle them over the top evenly. Then you can add on your caramelized onions. At this point, they should be pretty cool to room temperature. If you put hot onions on that cool pastry, then it's just gonna melt the pastry and it's not gonna puff that well. And then add on some crumbled blue cheese. Even if you don't like blue cheese, I think this is a great place to try it because when it mixes with the tanginess of those sweet onions and the sweet dried figs, along with that Dijon and fig sauce, it is a perfect combination. Once it's all on there, just put it into a preheated oven and let it bake. The edges of that pastry are really gonna puff up while it's cooking. That cheese is gonna melt slightly. Everything is gonna get warm and it is gonna be so good. I love the smell of this, and I love how you can get it all ready, put it in the fridge, and then bake it off when your guests are about to arrive, and it is a really quick and fresh appetizer or bite. Once it's baked, just pull it from the oven, let it cool just a few minutes so it's easy to handle. Pull it off of that baking pan and then just slice it up. I like to do small pieces so you can grab some, put them on a plate or a napkin with your drink, and walk around, talk with people, because that is what a Christmas party is all about. It's having good company, some festive cheer, and some great food. If you agree, make sure to like this video, share, and subscribe for the recipe. Go to the description box and keep checking back because I have invited you to my Christmas party. It is all appetizers and bites, and you are gonna wanna make them. Until next time, have a festive Christmas.